going to say some things here that people aren't going to like, okay? And we're all just going to have to fucking get along with it. I'm sick and tired of the bullshit. I am a well-connected person in CSGO, especially in esports in general. I hope that lends credibility to this tale that I'm about to tell you all. Because, again, if there's one thing I can't fucking stand, it's lies. Certain people lead very charmed lives and get to get away with things. People like me, oh no, you're too brash. You're not allowed to get away with things. So there is a little bit of bitterness there. Again, I don't do lies, do bitterness, right? So let's talk about ConfigGate. Config's been in the news, hasn't he? There was a tweet from Astralis, everyone's favourite organisation, right? Everyone loves them. Everyone loves Astralis, don't they? They're so popular. Let's go, Astralis. Let's go. We all love them. And they did a tweet, says here, as Christian Config Winecki has unfortunately suffered a complicated ankle fracture, our official reserve, Mickle Mr. Thompson. Sounds like a fucking woodwork teacher. Mickle Mr. Thompson will be included in the main roster. He'll be part of the team for the upcoming RMR. We wish Christian all the best and a quick recovery. Now listen, I'll just say this. I saw this story and I have to say, you know, when I think of Config's career, where did I like him the best? Probably when he was in that movie Unbreakable playing Mr. fucking Glass. How many bones is this cunt gonna break? Is this fucking real life? It's absolutely fucking ridiculous. Spiral fracture of the fucking wrist when he was at Complexity, which was supposedly where he did coming through a fucking airport. And now, I put it this way, right? I used to play rugby. Oh, you're a fat cunt now. What would you know about activity? I used to box, I used to do mixed martial arts, and I used to do rugby on the weekends. And back when I was really into it and juiced to the gills, I used to play football on a Saturday, a competitive football game, and rugby, a competitive rugby game on a Sunday. How many times did I break my wrist or break my ankle? I used to be in a sport where you're supposed to break people's ankles, and I never broke my ankle. Absolutely fucking zero times. Zero times. I've had broken fingers. I've certainly had. Look at this. People always say to me, Richard, do you know you look like, because your nose is all swollen and covered in scar tissue and bendy and just disproportionately large for your face, you look like a cunt out of the kids' game Guess Who? Right, yeah. Or Mr. Potato Head. An albino Mr. Potato Head. Yeah, I do know I look like that. That's because my body was put on the fucking line every fucking weekend. Been there, done that. I got scars on my head. I had an orbital fracture in my eye. My nose has been broke about 9 times. I got chipped teeth. I got fucking wrecked knuckles. You can probably see some are just big and gnarled and look weird compared to the others. I've had broken toes. It still hurts when I walk on my left foot because of a fracture in my metatarsals. I've had my knees fucking put out a fucking joint. I've had bust out, split elbows. I've had bursitis. I've had everything. Those sports are hard physical sports. Never broke my wrist, never broke my ankle. That's all I'm saying. Now this guy, young, physically fit, handsome. Ooh. Right? This guy's had 2 major bone breaks that have affected his CSGO career in 2 years. You're an esports player, lad. What's going on here? So I'ma just tell you, okay? I saw this story, didn't buy it for a second. Didn't buy it. I don't buy it. It just doesn't ring true, does it? But here's the other thing. Richard, how can you say this? An ankle fracture, a complicated one, right? I don't know, mate. Kind of seems to me like, unless it is the most complicated of complicated ankle fractures, the most complicated fracture of all time, you should be alright to sit down with your foot up and play. It won't be good, it'll be painful, it'll be suboptimal. Travelling will be a bit of a bitch. One time I was in an airport and I saw a cunt who looked like he'd just come out of that fucking Mummy movie, right? He was all done up he was head to foot, he was fucked, he was in a wheel, he still got on a plane. So, people were saying, oh, the travelling's gonna be a problem, like, better hadn't be, or he's just stuck in Malta, which, as we're gonna get to, what a dystopian nightmare that's turning out to be for a lot of people. a la Moldgate. I personally, this is my personal protected, constitutionally free speech protected opinion, not a doctor, right? But I don't see why having a bust-up ankle would prevent you, like, if you were determined enough to want to play with your arms and sit there and play with a video game and they just fucking dose you up, right? You just get, you won't be good, you'll be dosed on painkillers. I reckon you'll be alright, me. That's just me. I don't know. Again, not a doctor, but I reckon you'll be alright. On the same day, he said, great. Surgery needed, and the doctors tell me I won't be able to sit upright for long periods of time for the next 10 to 14 days. Well, this is odd. So from a broken ankle, right, you're going to have surgery, and you won't be able to sit upright for the exact same length of time that the contest would last for. Call me a Mogus, because that's sus as fuck. The exact time limit. The doctor told you. Well, listen, I hope you're not attending an RMR run by ESL anytime soon. Are you fucking serious, bud? This reeks to high heaven, like. But here's the thing. You ask the right question, Mr. Bored as fuck in the chat. You're not a sub. You should be. Get a prime going, because I'm about to answer your question. There's even a little emote for it. With me with a money crown, which of course, by the way, spoiler, when I'm homeless in 5 years, and you walk past me on the street, aren't you Richard Lewis? Didn't you work a major? You got any change, mate? We'll all laugh about it then. Bored as fuck as a sub now. So, what are these lies about? Okay then. It's a good question, isn't it? Why would they lie? What's been going on? What's been happening? Well, lots has been happening. So first and foremost, just to lay this out, I don't know if you noticed, but Astralis didn't get out of groups at ESL Pro League, did they? I don't know if you noticed. Astralis aren't very good, are they? Have you noticed? I've been told there's tensions. Of course there's tensions. It's not even controversial to say that. I hit up my Danish homies, my Danish posse, and they said, oh yeah, Astralis have got problems. Everyone's fucking mauling over there, as the kids say. Right? This is an totally accurate interaction. They're really angry with each other. There's been loads of tensions. People are pissed off at certain other players. So there was already problems afoot. That's worth another sub. That's a pun. There was already problems afoot in the team because they've been playing fucking shit, haven't they? Okay, so hold that thought. Then there was a report. A report from a website. No, everyone doesn't want to believe, but this is from Jackson. This is from Jackson. Now, Jackson have never been wrong, have they? Not that I've seen. It might be an example of clickbait, but they've never been wrong. And there he is, with a chain, right? Appropriately as it's going to turn out. CSGO fist fight. Astralis set to remove config after fist fight in Malta. Oh my me! This came out days after the initial... Oh, bloody hell, we've just crashed out of a tournament, and somehow, walking away from the tournament, back to his house, he's broken his ankle. And the doctors said he'll just be out long enough for us to replace him at the next tournament. And it's by Christian Slot. Now, I know Christian Slot. He's a good guy, good journal. Definitely juiced in the Danish scene. Knows what he's talking about, particularly in the Danish scene. Remember... This was the guy that announced Blast was getting the next major, right? After Rio. He was right, wasn't he? So, just saying, I'm just putting a little bit there, so he's got credibility. He's got credibility with me, so that should tell you something. He's not running a little fucking Pokemon account, is he? He's not running an account with 3,000 followers where he's a Pokemon. Just saying. Astralis is set to remove config from the CSGO roster, according to sources close to Jackson. Sources tell Jackson that config was involved in a fistfight after the ESL Pro League group stage in Malta 2 weeks ago, and now apparently Astralis is set to remove config from the roster. After the tournament, Astralis announced that config had suffered a complicated ankle fracture, which left him out for the upcoming major RML qualifiers. Multiple sources tell Jackson that config was involved in a quarrel. Great word. Makes it sound very quaint. Come here, I'm going to have a quarrel with you. Lovely. was involved in a quarrel that turned into a fistfight after ESL Pro League in Malta. This comes out following Jackson's report that Astralis are negotiating a deal for their former superstar roper, Nikolai Device reads Astralis have sent an offer for Device, but according to sources, NIP asked for around €1 million. Conventional wisdom would have suggested Farlig would be the outgoing player, but this surprise config benching might throw a proverbial spanner in the works. Whether this would mean a double replacement is needed, or one of the AWP specialists, presumably Farlig, would have to take up rifling is now unclear. But what does appear clear-cut is that config's time in Astralis might well be up, and a pathway back to the roster may be blocked. So, I was like, there it is. When you want to cut through bullshit, one of the first things you do is you look at how many coincidences am I expected to believe, okay? It's a great lesson in life, kids. Take it from an old man. A man old enough to have seen Coolio live. I used to be a gaffer, you know, I used to be a manager. I've told people this before. I used to be in a past life. I used to work in an office. I used to run a department, you know. And some people want to come into work and not take the piss. You've got your model employees. You've got the ones who, you know what they're up to. They go out on a Friday, they're meant to come in for Saturday shift, they've suddenly got food poisoning from a dodgy kebab, you know they were out drinking. You're entitled, in my opinion, to have a few fakey sick notes. You know, 3 or 4 a year, why not, right? No big deal. But then you've got the people who are just full of shit. It's like, oh, me granddad's died. Your granddad died last week. No, me other granddad. He died last month. Oh, did I say it's complicated? I got this complicated family, and it's like my godmother's dad, and he sort of raised me as a granddad. Anyway, I can't come in. It's just really hit me hard, you know. All right, okay, you take your bereavement time, and then it gets to the end of the week, and how are you feeling? Is there anything we can do to support you and get you back into work? Because you can't just say, offer bereavement, come back to work. You can't. You have to offer support and all that, even if you don't believe it's a real bereavement. Is there anything we can do to support you back in the workplace? Well, I was getting ready to come back, but you'll never guess what. My cat's just died as well. Sorry about that. Anyway, I'll just need 2 more days. We're going to get the cat buried and then I'll be fine. All right, okay, no problem. You call back 2 days. Are you all right if you buried Mittens? Yeah, but as I was digging it, I put my bloody back out. Right, okay, all right. You just don't want to come into work, right? And I'm not believing that in the space of a month, right? Yeah, you know what I mean? You're not John Lee Hooker, are you? Right? You know, your wife hasn't left you. All of your grandparents haven't died. Your cat hasn't died. And then you've thrown your back out. You know what I mean? You are not a living blues song. You are lying to me. You are bullshit. I can't believe all the layers of coincidences. Now, every time Astralis tells a motherfucking story, you've got to believe about 20, 30 fucking coincidences for it to even just like align and be real. So here's what you're expected to believe, right? There were tensions in the team. They crash out of the ESL tournament. Moments after crashing out of the ESL tournament, Config breaks his ankle. Astralis announced that he's broken his ankle, and don't worry, we've got a replacement. So, it's bloody shame this. Config on the same day announces that the doctor has told him he will be injured and cannot possibly sit down in a chair for the exact same length of time as the RMRs might last, and the doctor has 100% said that. And then a report on a credible news website comes out saying he had a fist fight in Malta. Do you believe that actually what's happened here is he's just popped his ankle? Because I don't. Sorry, guys. Also, it's Astralis. Why would anyone believe anything Astralis says ever again? Like, how many times are you going to get burnt with this shit, guys? How many times? It is literally the org that has probably in the last 4 years of CSGO told the most provable lies. So, I was like, listen, I believe Jackson. I'm happy to fucking, take them at face value. This is a serious allegation, not the type of news that you would make public and take lightly at all, right? Because, you're playing with people's reputations. From the school of saying nothing, Jackson contacted me with rumours that are mostly BS, and I asked them to respect it is private. Of course, they went ahead anyway and even added to the story. So I asked them not to contact me again. It hurts like hell, but I hope to get a green light from the doctor so I can get back soon. Mostly BS. And by the way, I see you boys in the chat. I see you, Stunner Moses. Come on, tell them. Tell the people in the chat what I'm about to tell them. So I was like, listen, mostly. Well, what mostly? So I asked people at the event, didn't I? Talked to all my homies. Taught everyone how we're doing, right? So what's going on? What happened at this? What happened at the nightclub? Hitting up players, hitting up these guys, hitting up those guys. So listen, what was wrong? Well, I don't know if you know this, but Config, right? This is where it goes. These are, again, my predicted opinions. I found him to be an aggressive little cunt at events. Some people are just built like that. Got tempers, always seem to find themselves in trouble, never seem to want to walk away or back down. This isn't the first time that he's been involved in something like this. It's already suspicious to me. But I asked people at the club, I asked people around, and yeah, apparently there was some fucking altercation with him and a security guard. Now, most people, to be fair, did say the security guard was the wrong un this time, but, you know, apparently he's had a fucking tumble. There's only two ways that this story now pans out, and that is that either he has actually legitimately got a fucked up ankle, but it's as a result of that, right? Or he doesn't have a fucked up ankle, but he's getting dropped for behavioural issues because, you know, most normal people can walk away from a fight. You have to work pretty hard, honestly, to get into one. Speaking from experience, you generally have to kind of want it. Most men, when they're trying to alpha you, they'll take you being a pussy and walking away. Makes them look big. So that's what I got told by multiple sources. This'll now end up in one of those other fucking news websites, won't it? Like it did when I said fucking two people had an altercation at a fucking, you know, Heroic and Astralis when they played behind the scenes. And somebody said, Richard Lewis said. That's the word on the street. Credible sources told me that, multiple credible sources. I'm sure the boys in the chat know exactly what I'm fucking talking about and are probably going to DM me now. Hey, Richard, you've still got it. You know all the gossip, don't you? At the end of the day, man, I don't know how many chances this guy's had, but if he does get cut from the roster, you gotta say, like, fuck it. You can't keep putting yourself in positions where you're gonna get injured. An organisation's paying you a fucking hefty salary. This isn't like a car accident or coming off your bike. I would even say if you were doing a secondary sport on the weekend, that's gonna put you in harm's way, like serious harm's way. Like if you're an esports player and a rugby player, you probably got to pick one, in my opinion, because you're going to get dusted up enough that it's going to affect your performance doing the other. I'm sympathetic towards Astralis, right? And I just feel at this point, this is probably like the third time in his career, he's put himself in an unspeakably stupid position and is probably going to get dropped for it. And that's that. Trying to impugn the reputation of a fine publication is bullshit. And also, I noticed how you didn't have the fucking stones to say it's a total lie. That tells me enough. All the people, by the way, on Twitter, Reddit, all lapping it up. Oh God, I hope he's okay. Thoughts and prayers, hands together emojis. Why does this happen to him? So unlucky, so cursed. Again, if bad things keep happening to you all of the time, yeah, there probably is this tiny little percentage of motherfuckers who are super unlucky. But let me tell you, it ain't super privileged millionaire esports players. That's your bad. I don't know, man. That disappointed me. There's been all this bullshit coming out of Malta. It just sounds like it's a real, like, for want of a better word, a tatty event. There's too much of this bullshit going on at events. It's not just config, mate. It's not just config. We've got loads of fights behind the scenes in CSGO events. Loads of people getting punched in the face. Loads of people attacking each other needlessly. Player on player action. Player on caster action. CSGO people on the public action. It's, it's a bit of an embarrassment, honestly. But, you know, we're a tight enough crew that we cover up the people that do it. I'm the only person to ever get penalised for a fight, and I didn't even start it. That's esports. That's how fair it is. I'm on Astralis' side here, based on what I've been told. I think probably it's true. Config's out of Astralis now. I heard there was already some friction there, and it could have happened anyway. And just on the device point, I've also heard device to Astralis. It's like, it's happening. It's a lock. He's not going to be allowed to play for any team that doesn't nut up the money. And Astralis are pretty down the line, apparently, with that move. So good for him. It's just a shame that, once again, because it's CSGO and everyone's a train wreck, we can't have a really good team. Mental. That's that.